Well, the time has come for me to finally show y'all how to make yourself a proper pot of some of the best hot dog chili you will ever put in your mouth. So if you want to know how to make it, well, honey, stick with me because we fitting to get in this kitchen and cook. Let's go.
Whipping up all of your favorite recipes. Simply Food. You should know by now that you're in for a treat. Simply Food.
There's no other channel where you'd rather be.
Simply Food. Seafood, pasta, cakes, and pies. Sing and laugh and even cry. Like and share and hit subscribe. Simply Food by TY.
Alrighty, guys, so let's jump right into these ingredients. So we're going to be working with 3 pounds of ground beef. Now, if you want to try ground turkey, by all means, I've never done it, so don't quote me if it don't turn out right, child. Okay? I'm going to be turning this hot dog chili into some chili cheese dogs later on. So I have some beef franks here, some brioche-style hot dog buns, and then I like to top mine with some cheddar cheese. I wish I could have had Tillamook, but they were all out. And then I also like to top it with some green onion. Now back to the recipe proper. You're going to need 1 large sweet Vidalia onion. You're also going to need some yellow mustard, ketchup, cayenne pepper, some coarse kosher salt, some black peppercorns, garlic powder, onion powder, some smoked paprika, and of course, you need the chili powder. Now, let's talk about these onions really quick. So, to me, it is really important to make sure that you, first of all, get a sweet onion. Sweet white onion, a sweet Vidalia onion, whatever you want to call it. Just do not use a harsh, regular old white onion. It's going to be way too much. A good chili, to me, should be jam-packed with flavor, but it should also be very neutral, meaning you should be able to put it on hot dogs, on fries, nachos, all of that type of stuff. So, you don't want it to be too onion heavy. So right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of breaking these down to about a rough chop. I'm only going to be using 1 cup of these onions in the actual recipe. And then any of the leftover onions that you have, you're going to chop those down into a small mince, because then you can have that set to the side for your guests that want to top their chili dogs or whatever the case with the leftover onions. So for right now, this little bit of rough chop that you see right here is kind of really all that you need, because it's going to completely disintegrate, okay? And you're going to use about 1 cup of that. And then anything that's left over, you can chop it down even smaller. I like to top my chili dogs with green onions, scallions, whatever you want to call it. Chop that down to a small mince. And then you can go on ahead and set that to the side. Now, one thing I do want to mention, I know earlier you guys saw that I was going to be using ketchup, but I wanted to be specific. The ketchup that I actually am going to be using in this particular recipe is the no sugar added ketchup. You're also going to need some Worcestershire sauce. And as you can see, I have filled up a full 1 cup liquid measuring cup, but almost to the point to where it overflowed. I almost used the entire bottle of ketchup. Now, I want to talk about these seasonings right here, just so that you guys have a full understanding of what the spices are that I'm going to be using in this. So I have 3 tablespoons of chili powder, a half a tablespoon of onion powder, a half a tablespoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, okay? And 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. So, just make sure you write all that down, honey, so that there ain't no confusion later on down the line, okay? I also might be nice and type it up on the screen for y'all, child. I know how sensitive y'all get, okay? Now, in my Dutch oven here, I've just added in about a tablespoon of olive oil. And like I said, I've added in my 1 cup of those diced onions. Now, to build some more flavor into this, I'm going to be adding in about a tablespoon of the Better Than Bouillon roasted beef base. This is going to give some great flavor, and to really brighten it up and waken it up, I'm going to add that to the pan with the onions and the olive oil. Give that a mix around and allow those onions to cook in that for roughly about 1 to 2 minutes or so. You're not trying to fry them up or anything like that. Now, y'all, these next few steps are going to look very sketchy, okay? But just trust me and trust the process. I know what I'm doing, and I'm not going to lead you guys astray, okay? So Now that your onions have started to cook down, you're going to have this on about a simmer, okay? Because we're about to add some stuff to this. You're going to go on ahead and add in your 3 pounds of your ground beef. Now, a traditional chili on the East Coast, in my opinion, is a chili that will essentially just melt in your mouth. There should be no chunks of onions, peppers, especially no beans, and no big chunks of meat. It should be completely minced down and it should melt in your mouth. And the way we do that to get, or I should say to achieve that goal, is we actually boil the meat in water, okay? Now, like I said, this is going to look real sketchy, but trust me when I say this is how you get that super, super soft melt in your mouth chili. And trust me, this whole thing is going to cook down and it's going to become nice and thick, so don't worry, okay? I've added in 3.5 cups of water. Make sure if you're following this video specifically and if you're using 3 pounds of beef, only use 3.5 cups. Don't get out of control and add too much water. Because what you're going to do now is you're going to go in, give it just a little rough chop just to give it a head start. You're going to make sure that this comes up to a simmer. Do not add anything else into the pot at this point. You're going to partially put the lid on, undisturbed for the first 30 minutes, okay? After that 30 minutes, you're going to then remove the lid. At that point, a majority of all of the fat, if not all of the fat, should have risen to the top. The reason why you don't want to disturb it is because you want to make sure that all that fat naturally floats up to the top so that you can easily scoop it off. And as you guys can see, if you look closely inside of my pan, you can actually see that that water is already starting to dissolve. It's starting to go down, which is what you want, okay? So just make sure you go in after the first 30 minutes, trim off a lot of that fat. Do not drain the meat. Just trim off the fat. If there's a little bit left behind, that's fine. Now you want to go in and really take that time to really make sure that you're mincing this meat down, okay? Like I said, a good chili should not have big chunks of meat in it. It should just essentially, you see how like nice and small grain that is? That's what you want. And by cooking it in that water and that beef base, it's not only giving it flavor, but it's really tenderizing that meat. You're going to put the top back on it partially for an additional 30 minutes. Now you're at the 1 hour mark. And as you can see, a majority of all of that water is gone. That is exactly what you want, okay? You're only left with a nice, thick, meaty consistency. There's not that much water in there, and the little bit that is left, that is completely fine. So that's the reason why you want to make sure that you don't get out of control and add in too much water, because within that 1 hour, it should reduce by almost half. So now that that's reduced, now that the meat is nice and minced up, you can go on ahead and dump in all of those lovely spices that we talked about earlier. And again, I'm going to be using the no sugar added ketchup, but just so you guys know, whether you use regular ketchup or the no sugar added, you're still going to be adding in that brown sugar. And no, it does not make it sweet. It just balances out the flavor of that chili powder. You're going to give this a good mix around. And again, you want to make sure that this is at a simmer. So keep in mind at this stage, this has now cooked for exactly 1 hour, okay? You only have 30 minutes left to go, and then this is going to be completely done. Now that you've gotten in all of your seasonings nice and mixed in, mind you, we have not added in any salt or pepper yet. I will tell you when it's time to add that in. Now that you have all of your seasonings nicely incorporated, we're going to go ahead and add in that ketchup. And like I said, I used a 1 cup liquid measuring cup, but as you guys saw, I completely let it fill all the way up to the top. I practically used that entire bottle. So I would say about a cup and a half using a liquid measuring cup, okay? And then you're going to go in with 1 tablespoon of mustard. Give that a mix around. Once you mix that around, that's when you're going to go in and give a few dashes of the Worcestershire sauce. Not too much. A little goes a long way. And then that's when you can go in to give it a taste for the salt and pepper. You'll actually be very surprised that you're probably not going to need as much salt as you think, which is key. That means you did everything right. But just wait until you add in those last few things before you add in the salt. And then you can adjust the salt to your liking, as well as the spiciness. But just keep in mind, you guys, once again, your chili should be very neutral. So you don't want it to be too spicy. Now, like I said, you wanted to allow that to cook for an additional 30 minutes on a simmer. However, in that last 30 minutes, you've got to make sure that you are continuously mixing because as you can see, it has thickened up beautifully, as you can see, baby. That's what you call chili. So you want to make sure that doesn't stick, and that's going to melt right in your mouth. I mean, my God. There is so much flavor in this chili. I promise you. It's so easy to make, and you're going to want to make it all the time. Now, like I said, this is how you make hot dog chili that you can put on whatever you would like. Today, I'm going to be making some chili dogs. So I partially toasted my brioche buns. I went on ahead and cooked off both of my beef hot dogs. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to top it off with some of that delicious chili. And as you can see, it thickened up beautifully. And that looks like the staple chili right there. I'm telling you, it's award-winning. It truly is. I don't add too much. I add just enough. And then I'm going to go in. I'm going to top it off with a little bit of cheese. I'm going to pop it back in the oven for, maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, just to make sure that the cheese melts. Okay, you're not trying to, don't go burning up your stuff now. This is just to make sure the cheese melts. Once it melts, honey, top it off with a little bit of onions, a little bit of those green onions, or whatever you like to put on your chili dogs, and enjoy yourself, honey. Because let me tell you something. You have just made yourself a delicious pot of some award-winning hot dog chili. Okay? Just leave it to your boy Tobias to hook you up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you guys enjoyed this video, give this video a thumbs up. And I will see y'all later. Y'all babies stay cute and take care. Bye.
Slaying in the kitchen. Simply Food by TY.
We hope that you enjoyed it.
Simply Food by TY. If you haven't took the time, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Simply Food.